All right, so now that we got our business entity set up, now you got to understand how to monetize your product. For us, that's our music. So if you're a producer, if you're a songwriter and you get some placements, you either get writing credits, or if you get beat placements with major label artists, you want to understand how to start collecting your royalties. And obviously that money is going to start flowing into your business account. So this video is going to break down what you need to do to start registering your music and how to claim and collect your royalties so that you can start generating some revenue.
So truly one of the best parts about being a music creative in this era is that we have the tools, we have the technology for you to essentially become your own record label. And so I always stress the importance, even if you're an independent artist that is eventually looking to get signed by a major, I think it's so important for you to understand how to at least operate on an independent level so that when you get brought into a major label system, you already know the business so that nobody can take advantage of you. And let's say the whole label situation doesn't work out, you can be totally self-sufficient and be able to operate as an independent artist and a label. From a music and royalties standpoint, how you collect 99% of all of your royalties is essentially a four-step process. Number one is that you want to be releasing your music through an independent distributor. So whether you use DistroKid, TuneCore, CD Baby, United Masters, as long as you're distributing your own music, you're collecting revenue from the master recording. The second thing you want to do is make sure you're affiliated with a collection society. Here in the US, there are three main performance rights organizations. That's ASCAP, BMI, and SESAC. If you live outside of US territories, every single territory or country outside of the US has their own collection societies. And so you want to jump on Google. If you're not sure what that is, you want to jump on Google and just do a quick Google search of the collection society in your country or your region.
All right, so quick disclaimer, you might need to rewind this video and watch back certain parts of it because it can get confusing pretty quickly, especially if you don't already know about a lot of these things. And I'm also in upcoming videos going to talk about the difference between your master copyright and your publishing copyright and which royalties you're collecting from each one of those. So if you hear me mention those terms, master, publishing, or the sound recording, then just keep in mind that in future videos, I'm going to break that down even more, but feel free to rewind this and watch these parts again.
But if you're here in the States, BMI, ASCAP, or SESAC is essentially going to collect what's called performance royalties. And those royalties are collected anytime your music is put in TV or film, or even if it's publicly performed or streamed inside of a restaurant or inside of a bar or a concert venue. Specifically, they're collecting the writer's share of your performance royalties. Now, there's also the publisher's share of your performance royalties, but that's going to actually lead into the next step. So the third step is to register your songs with what's called a publishing administrator. And if you're independent and unsigned, then using a company like Songtrust will do that for you. Now, there are a lot of different options for pub admin, but essentially if you're independent and unsigned, one of the best options that I also use myself is a company called Songtrust. And like I mentioned in the last step, you also have the publishing share of your performance royalties. But if you're signed up with Songtrust, essentially Songtrust is going to collect that publisher's share for you. And on top of that, they're also going to collect mechanical royalties as well.
So if you're signed up with ASCAP, BMI, or SESAC, make sure that when you sign up, you register both as a writer and as a publisher. And this is assuming that you don't have a publishing deal with another company or that you're not signed to a label, which 99% of the people that are watching this video, you're going to own your own publishing. So you want to make sure that you sign up both as a writer and a publisher. So you'll have two separate accounts. So that way, when you sign up with Songtrust, who is the publishing administrator, they're also going to collect the publishing portion of your performance royalties. And your writer's portion of performance royalties are still going to come through ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC.
And back in the day, mechanical royalties used to be, actual hard CD sales, vinyl, cassette. But now, because everything is digital, that has mostly become streaming. And so even though in step one, if you're signed up with a distributor, that distributor is going to send your music to all these different platforms. And if you're already signed up with one, you may have noticed that they pay you out on a monthly or whatever basis. That revenue is actually coming from the master recording. With Songtrust, they're collecting the publisher's share of your revenue. So when your music is on these streaming platforms, it's generating all different types of royalties, both on the master recording and on the publishing side. So just to be fully clear, and I know this is confusing for a lot of people, there are two different copyrights associated with every single piece of music. One is the master recording, and the other is the publishing, also sometimes called the composition. So with your distributor, those payments that you collect from them are generated from streams on the master recording, but then you also have the publishing side of that, and that's where Songtrust steps in and collects a lot of those mechanical royalties on the publishing. Now, the fourth and final step is to register your songs with SoundExchange. And essentially what they're going to collect are digital performance royalties on the master recording from non-interactive streaming services. So the free Pandora account, or we have Sirius XM radio, we have satellite radio, internet radio. Those are all the platforms that SoundExchange is going to collect from. So essentially, given all that information, those 4 steps, as long as you have those 4 steps covered, whether you're an artist or a producer, you can collect the 99% of all of your music royalties.
All right, so like I said, you might need to go back and watch certain parts of that again, because I know it's super confusing. The music business was clearly not set up to pay the artists and the talent and the songwriters and the producers. It was meant to pay these major companies and labels who would then distribute payments to the artists. But because of where we're at now with technology and so many things have changed over the years, we now have the platforms to be able to collect a lot of these for ourselves, but the system itself has not changed very much. So that's why it's still set up like this, and it's very antiquated. But even more reason why you need to understand how it works so you can be proactive about it.
Now, one common question that I get from a lot of producers is, do I register my beats? Like, do I take all these steps and distribute my own beats and put them on Spotify and all of that? And my advice and suggestion would be, unless you're creating instrumental albums, so let's take lo-fi as an example. Lo-fi is like a really big thing. Unless you're like a lo-fi producer, you want to be registering the songs, the finished product. So when you sign up for Songtrust, or when you sign up for ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC, you want to be registering the finished product, the actual songs themselves, not just the beats and the instrumentals. And one thing you should know is that the whole royalty collections process is a really, really slow, antiquated process. The music industry has been very slow to adapting to a lot of these fast-paced changes, and that's just the nature of the business. So although things are moving and changing very quickly in the music business, it's really hard to get these systems and these companies to adapt at the same speed. So, you know, I think when I first signed up with Songtrust, it took me about 9 to 10 months to collect my first publishing check from them. And that's a long time. So that's why it's important to build multiple revenue streams so that you're not just sitting there waiting on your publishing checks to come through.
So the second thing that I'll add for producers specifically, if you, let's say you have a beat store and you're leasing these beats online and artists are buying them, recording music, and then releasing them onto streaming platforms, you also want to be able to monetize aspects of that as well. So even though there's no perfect system to be able to monetize your music that another artist who leased one of your beats released on Spotify, there are ways to monetize it on YouTube. So Songtrust also covers that. It's called micro sync royalties. And when you sign up with Songtrust, you want to make sure that you check the box that says also collect micro sync royalties from YouTube, because that's going to cover you. So this is specifically pertaining to producers who are getting a lot of placements or selling beats online, and artists are releasing those songs on YouTube. So micro sync royalty is definitely a big one.